Most people who join the army don't fully understand why they did it until years later. It isn't patriotism. It isn't money. It's something deeper. And most of them couldn't have named it at the time. Number 1. They're drawn to structure and discipline in a world that feels chaotic. Most people find rules restrictive. For a specific type of person, rules are a relief. Not because they can't think for themselves, because they think too much. Because they live in a world that offers endless options, endless noise, endless competing demands, and no clear signal for what actually matters. A world where success is vague, progress is invisible, and the right path is something you're supposed to figure out alone with no map and no feedback. For these people, that ambiguity isn't freedom, it's exhausting. What the military offers, and what civilian life almost never does, is clarity. A clear hierarchy, clear expectations, clear measures of whether you're performing. For a mind that craves signal in the noise, this isn't constraint, it's oxygen. These aren't people who failed to thrive in open environments. They are people wired to perform best when the environment has shape, when effort has a clear direction and outcomes have a clear standard. Structure doesn't limit them. It's what unlocks them. The discipline doesn't suppress who they are. It focuses it. The most driven, high-performing version of themselves doesn't emerge in spite of constraint. It emerges because of it. The army didn't impose something foreign on them. It gave them the conditions they were always built for. Structure pulls them in. But the second force has nothing to do with rules or discipline. It's about something far more personal. Number 2. They're looking for someone to tell them exactly who to be. There is a specific window in a person's life when the question of identity feels most urgent. For most people, this question gets answered slowly and messily, through trial and error, through relationships, through failures that gradually build a picture of the self. It's uncomfortable, it takes years, and in the middle of it, the person has no clear answer. That uncertainty is tolerable for some people. For others, it's unbearable. For the ones who can't tolerate it, who need to know now who they are, the military offers something almost no other institution does. It answers the question for you, completely, immediately. From day one of basic training, you are told exactly who you are, what you value, how you carry yourself, what you are capable of. The identity isn't built gradually through self-discovery, it's issued, like the uniform. And for a person who has been drifting, untethered, waiting for something to organize them, this feels like the ground appearing beneath their feet. Psychologists call this identity foreclosure, the adoption of a ready-made identity without going through the uncertainty of building one from scratch. In most contexts, it's flagged as a shortcut with long-term costs. But the military version isn't shallow. The identity it provides is tested, pressure-forged, and genuinely meaningful. The values it instills are real. The community it places you inside is real. The person who walked in uncertain walks out knowing exactly who they are. For someone who needed that answer badly enough to sign their life away to get it, that is not a small thing. That is everything. Identity anchors them. But there's a force that goes beyond the self entirely, and it's the one most people never expect to find in a military uniform. Number 3. They want to be part of something bigger than themselves. There is a psychological need that modern life is surprisingly bad at meeting. The need to matter. Not to be successful, not to be comfortable, not to be liked. To matter. In the sense that your existence contributes to something beyond your own story. That you are a thread in something larger than yourself. Most people spend their entire lives quietly searching for this feeling without ever naming it. The military offers it directly, unambiguously, on day one. You are not here for yourself. You are here for the person next to you, for the unit, for the mission, for something that existed before you arrived and will continue after you leave. And rather than feeling diminishing, most people who join describe this as the most liberating psychological experience of their lives. Because the burden of the self is heavy. In a culture that places the individual at the center of everything, your goals, your brand, your success, the pressure to make your individual life meaningful is enormous. And for many people, that pressure produces not purpose, but anxiety. Because meaning built entirely around the self is fragile. It depends on external validation. It fluctuates. It offers no anchor that holds when things fall apart. Purpose built around something larger is different. It doesn't fluctuate the same way. You can be having the worst day of your life and still know exactly why you are here and what you are for. The person who joins isn't giving up their individuality. They are trading a fragile, self-constructed meaning for one that can hold weight. For someone who has been carrying the anxiety of a life that doesn't feel like it adds up, that trade feels like a profound relief. The mission fills them. But some people who join aren't looking outward at all. They're settling a private score with themselves. Number 4, they're trying to become a version of themselves they can finally be proud of. There is a particular kind of person who joins the military not to escape something, but to become something. Not running away from a life that isn't working, running toward a version of themselves they can see clearly in their mind, but haven't been able to reach. Stronger, more disciplined, more capable, worthy of their own respect. They know the person they want to be. They just don't trust yet that they are that person. This is one of the most powerful and least discussed motivations in military recruitment. It isn't about the enemy outside. It's about the war inside. The quiet, persistent gap between who someone is and who they believe they are capable of becoming. Basic training is designed to find your limit and push past it. To put you in conditions where your body is broken down, your mind is exhausted, and the easiest thing would be to stop, and to show you, through the act of not stopping, that you are more than you thought you were. The self-knowledge that comes from that experience is not theoretical. It is earned. You know what you're made of because you were tested, and you found out. For someone who has spent years privately doubting themselves, wondering whether they would hold up when it mattered, this is not just transformative, it's identity changing. The person who comes out the other side is not the same person who went in. Not because the military changed who they fundamentally are, because it showed them who they already were. And for a lot of people, that's exactly what they came for. Self-respect drives them. But the next type isn't chasing who they want to become. They're chasing how they want to feel. And civilian life can never give it to them. Number 5, they're wired for risk, and they want a life that actually uses it. Most people manage risk. They minimize it, hedge against it, build lives designed to keep it as far away as possible. And then there are people for whom risk isn't a threat, it's a need. This isn't recklessness. It isn't a death wish. It is a specific neurological reality, a nervous system calibrated differently that requires higher levels of stimulation to feel fully alive. For these people, the ordinary rhythms of civilian life don't feel comfortable. They feel flat, like running an engine at a fraction of its capacity and calling that driving. The civilian world presents them with a specific problem. It is safe, predictable, optimized for stability, and for a nervous system wired for intensity, stability is not a reward, it's a slow drain. The military solves this completely. It offers, legally, structurally, with purpose attached, the intensity these people have been looking for their entire lives. High stakes, physical demand, environments where every sense is fully engaged, and being present isn't a mindfulness practice, it's a survival requirement. For a risk-wired person, this isn't hardship, it's finally feeling awake. What makes this more than sensation-seeking is the meaning underneath it. The intensity isn't empty. It exists in service of something real, protecting people, completing a mission, being part of something that matters beyond the adrenaline. The risk has a reason. And that combination, intensity plus purpose, is something the civilian world almost never provides. The military didn't take a risk-wired person and put them in danger. It took a risk-wired person and finally gave them somewhere to put it. Risk fuels them. But the last motivation is the quietest one, and arguably the most psychologically sophisticated of all. Number 6, they want to be tested because they don't trust themselves until they are. There is a question that lives quietly inside a certain type of person, not spoken out loud, rarely even fully formed into words, but always present, a low hum of uncertainty that follows them through ordinary life. Would I hold up when it actually mattered? Not philosophically, personally, urgently. Would I be brave when bravery was required? Would I stay when staying was the hardest thing? Would I be someone other people could count on when the stakes were real? Civilian life almost never answers this question. The challenges are real, but they are rarely the kind that unambiguously reveal character. You can go an entire lifetime without ever knowing, really knowing, what you are made of. For some people, that uncertainty is fine. For others, it is intolerable. The ones for whom it is intolerable join the military, not to prove something to anyone else, to prove something to themselves. To get a definitive answer to the question that has been running in the background for years. To stand in a moment where everything is hard and the easiest thing would be to stop, and to find out, once and for all, what they do. The test is the point. The discomfort is the point. The difficulty is not an obstacle between them and what they want. It is what they want. And here is what makes this the most psychologically revealing motivation of all. It requires a level of self-awareness that most people never develop. To know that you need to be tested. To choose difficulty deliberately, not because you enjoy suffering, but because you understand that some kinds of knowledge can only be earned that way. These are not people who stumbled into the military. They sought it out. Because somewhere inside them, they already understood something that takes most people decades to learn. The version of yourself you can respect is not the one that avoided difficulty. It's the one that walked straight into it and came out the other side knowing the answer. That's what makes the people who answer that call far more complex and far more human than most people ever stop to realize. And if you're curious to explore more angles on the complexities of people, click the link on the screen to watch my next deep dive. If you enjoy grappling with these weighty topics, consider subscribing to catch all my future uploads.